Proteus Leadership proudly presents the Let's Go, Let's Grow podcast with Des Penny, founder of Proteus Leadership.
Hi everyone and welcome back to the Let's Go, Let's Grow podcast. I'm Des Penny and today we're jumping into a topic that every person and especially every leader needs to grapple with at some stage in their journey. Does it really matter what people think and say about you? Well, let me ask you this. Have you ever had an idea, a goal or a vision you were excited about, only to have someone shoot it down with a comment, a look, or even silence, or worse, indifference? Have you ever been misunderstood, misrepresented, or messed around by someone who thought they knew your story but didn't really know your heart? Let me tell you, if you're doing anything of value in this life, if you're showing up authentically, building something meaningful or leading people towards change, then criticism is not just likely, it's inevitable. You will be talked about, you will be questioned, and you will be judged, often unfairly, sometimes harshly, and most times by people who don't have the full story. But here's the leadership truth. It's not what they say that defines you. It's how you respond that sets the course for your future. Let me say that again. It's not what they say that defines you. It's how you respond that matters. And responding starts with clarity. Clarity about who you are, what you stand for, and what your purpose is. Because when you're clear, the noise of others fades into the background.
This episode of Let's Go, Let's Grow podcast is brought to you by Proteus Leadership, creating great leaders for over 32 years. To discover how Proteus can help you grow, lead, and make real impact, visit proteusleadership.com. Follow the link in the show notes.
So does it really matter what people think and say about you? Well, the short answer is yes. The long answer is only sometimes, and it depends on who they are and what their motives might be. Let me explain. People's thoughts and words about you can matter when they come from a place of care, wisdom, or mentorship. Feedback from people who know you, who want the best for you, who are walking the journey with you, that kind of feedback is gold. It's something we should always welcome and pay attention to. But here's the flip side. If we allow everyone's opinions to hold weight, especially those who aren't walking in our shoes and don't share our values, or those who are simply trying to tear down what they don't understand, then we hand over the reins of our life to the crowd. And let me tell you, true leadership doesn't work like that. You can't let every voice in the crowd become your compass. Warren Buffett puts it perfectly when he said, "You will continue to suffer if you have an emotional reaction to everything that is said to you. True power is sitting back and observing things with logic. True power is restraint. If words control you, that means everyone else can control you. Breathe and allow things to pass." That quote's all about life wisdom. It's emotional intelligence 101. It's about taking back the controls, and I love it. Because true power is restraint. True leadership is responding with thought, not reacting with emotion. I love that line in Warren Buffett's quote where he says, "If words control you, that means everyone else can control you." Recently, I just spoke at an event, and at the end of the event, I was saying goodbye to people, and a lady who I knew but didn't really respect came up to me at the end of the session and said, "I listened to your podcast and I find you very self-indulgent." It was like a dagger until I processed who it was from and whether or not I actually respected their feedback based on their previous behaviour. And I did not. So it was easy to dismiss. If you're constantly triggered by what others say or don't say, then you're handing them the steering wheel of your life. And I don't know about you, but I want to be the driver of my own life, not the passenger. So how do we combat negative comments and feedback? Well, let's talk strategy here. The moment you step out, the moment you dare to be different or put yourself out there, you will get feedback. It's a gift that just keeps on giving. Some of it will be well-meaning, some of it will sting, and some of it will be flat out wrong, and some of it wonderful. So how do we deal with it without letting it derail us? I want to introduce you to what is known as the triple R method, of which there are many, but in this model, the first R is to recognise. Recognise the source. You see, not all feedback is created equal. When you hear a negative comment or feel the sting of criticism, pause and ask, who is this coming from? What's their relationship to me? Do they know the full story or just a small part of it? Are they speaking from experience or from their own insecurity? What is their intent? Because we've all received feedback from someone who wasn't really in the arena. They weren't in the trenches with us. They weren't building or growing or leading anything themselves, but they had plenty to say about others. So why would I take notice of them when their comments are not to build the situation up, but to create doubt? So, recognise the voice and where it's coming from and ask yourself, is this someone worth listening to? Because taking criticism from someone you wouldn't trade places with is a fast track to self-doubt and confusion. In fact, there are some people you don't want to agree with you, because when they don't, you know you're on the right track. The second R in the method is reflect. Reflect before you react. Reflecting identifies one of the most underrated leadership superpowers, the pause. In our fast-paced world, reacting is easy. You hear something that offends you and boom, you want to snap back, explain yourself, go into defense mode, which usually makes things worse. But what if we paused? What if we gave ourselves the space to respond instead of immediately reacting? That's restraint. That's maturity. That's power. And so we need to take some time to ask, is there a grain of truth in this? Could I grow from this feedback? Or is this just noise that I need to discard? But responding doesn't always mean being passive. It means choosing a response that aligns with your values, your purpose, your intent, and your bigger picture. We need to get rid of the noise in our lives so that the real message can be heard. The third R is refocus. Refocus on what matters. After you've filtered the feedback, refocus. Because what you focus on, you magnify. I'm going to say that again. What you focus on, you magnify. And if you spend your energy stewing over what someone said or how unfair it was, you're giving away precious real estate in your mind to something that doesn't serve you. So instead, shift your focus back to your purpose, your vision, your values, your intent, and the impact you want to make. In other words, go back to your why. Because the loudest voice in your life shouldn't be the most critical one. It should be the one that calls you forward. So how can we better focus on the good in situations in our lives? Let's be honest, it can be tough to do this. We're bombarded daily with bad news, unrealistic expectations, and emotional curveballs. And if we're not careful, we can start to see the bad in every situation before we even consider the good. But here's what I've learned from making mistakes right through my life. Focusing on the good is not a personality trait that can only be achieved by a few. It's a practice, something we must train ourselves to do over a period of time. Positivity is a practice, not a personality trait. You can train your brain to look for good, not bad. You can learn to reframe situations and not get caught in the mud. And you can build the habit of hope, not constant despair. Here's how. Firstly, start a daily gratitude ritual. Hugh van Cuylenburg speaks a lot about this in his wonderful book, The Resilience Project, where he reminds us that we must constantly focus on what we are grateful for. Just recently, I had the privilege of having a breakfast with all my family, my children and partners and grandchildren. And as I looked around the table, I was all of a sudden just full of gratitude and pride. And I couldn't stop thinking about how grateful I was to have such special people around me and how I needed to foster the relationships even more. So every morning or every evening, write down 3 things you are grateful for. They don't have to be profound. It could be the hot coffee in your hand, the email of encouragement you got yesterday, the fact that your kids are healthy, that you made it through a tough meeting without losing your cool. The key is to focus on the good, not the bad. Because gratitude rewires your brain to see possibility instead of problems and to be thankful for who you are and what you have. And the more you practice it, the more naturally it flows. Secondly, choose your narrative. We don't always get to choose our circumstances, but we do get to choose the story we tell about them. Ask yourself, am I the victim in this story or the hero? Is this a dead end or a detour? Is this failure or a stepping stone? What you call something matters, so name it with hope, frame it with possibility and positivity. Thirdly, spend time with hope-filled people. Negativity is contagious, but so is hope. Surround yourself with people who speak hope into your life, people who remind you of your worth and that you are enough, people who see you, not your mistakes, people who challenge you to grow, not stay stuck and stagnant. Because who you surround yourself with will determine what you believe is possible. So choose wisely. You know, a simple concept that I've discovered through all the highs and lows of leadership is that we are the authors of our own lives. So it's up to us, the type of story we write. But too many of us have let other people ghostwrite our stories. We've let opinions become chapters of our life. We've let fear write the plot and stop us from achieving. We've let silence fill the pages that were meant for greatness. It's time to take back the pen and write some new chapters. So here's my challenge for you all. Write down the negative comment that's stuck in your mind and cause you pain. Ask yourself, is this feedback from someone who truly knows me? Then cross it out physically. Rip it up, throw it in the bin so that symbolically you deal with it and can now move on. And then write something new. Write what you know to be true about who you are. Write down what you're grateful for. Write down your next bold step of growth and how you will take the first step towards it. Because you are not here to blend in. You are here to lead, to grow, to shine, to stand tall, to influence. So don't let criticism dim your light. Let it clarify your direction. So let me leave you with this. Life doesn't just happen. We make it happen. Action precedes clarity, not the other way around. And we don't know what we don't know until we go find out. Remember, what people think and say about us does not define who we are. Only you can do that. So thank you so much for joining me today on the Let's Go, Let's Grow podcast. If this episode gave you clarity, strength, or even just a little nudge forward, I'd love it if you shared it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe on your favourite platform and leave a quick review. Until next time, breathe, observe, respond, and keep moving toward the life and leadership you were born for. I'm Des Penny. Thank you for listening, and remember, you're not just surviving, you're growing forward.